Today we're going to visit with Levi Jacobson and talk about wildlife management areas. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Welcome to the program, Levi. Levi, how many wildlife management areas does the Game and Fish manage across the state?
The Game and Fish manages about 235 wildlife management areas throughout the state, and those 235 areas encompass about 220,000 acres.
And does the Game and Fish Department own all the wildlife management areas?
We do not. We own approximately half of them. The other ones are owned by other government agencies such as Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and North Dakota DOT. Those ones are leased to us to manage them for wildlife.
Levi, what's the purpose of a wildlife management area?
The purpose of a wildlife management area is to maintain good habitat and pretty much manage the wildlife populations in that area as well as we can.
Okay, explain some of the habitat. I mean, habitat is very important to these wildlife species. Explain some of the habitats that we have on our WMAs.
Yep, we manage all kinds of habitat from grasslands, trees, wetlands. So we're trying to manage for deer, turkeys, pheasants, waterfowl, grouse, kind of all kinds of species. So we try to maintain as good as habitat as we can to sustain these populations for public hunting.
And it's very important that we have these areas for wildlife.
It is very important. You know, 220,000 acres is pretty small when you look at the scheme of North Dakota, so these areas are really important for wildlife as well as public access for hunting.
Levi, there's a lot of management practices on these wildlife management areas, WMAs.
Yep.
Explain some of those.
So what we're trying to do is manage them as best as we can for wildlife. So a lot of that is grassland management. We try to have a management plan for all our grasses, whether that's haying, grazing, prescribed fires, or a combination of each. So idling grasslands is really a detriment to the grasslands. These cool season invasives creep in, and especially Kentucky bluegrass, and they build up this thatch layer that outcompetes all the desirable native species. So in managing these grasslands, we try to remove that thatch layer and allow the more desirable native species to come through.
Levi, what are your crews doing right now on wildlife management areas?
Right now is a busy time for us, eating grass, eating food plots, and planting trees. We're setting up grazing rotations right now, and in a week or two we'll be spraying noxious weeds.
These WMAs are for wildlife production, so there's some rules and regulations people need to follow.
Correct, yep. So like this time of year we got a couple of rules going on. We restrict dog training on WMAs from April 1st to August 15th. And that's primarily for the ground nesting birds. We don't want people out there running dogs and scaring up the birds. And that's for the amateur dog trainer, like just the gun dog. So professional trainers, it's prohibited year-round.
How about camping or campfires on WMAs?
Yep, so camping's allowed on pretty much all of our WMAs, and that's restricted to 10 days at a time, except for some of our WMAs in the western part of the state where there's no camping allowed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And fires are allowed, but we just ask people be cautious with it because it is, you can see a lot of grasslands, and follow the county restrictions if there's a burn ban in place. Okay,
and the 4th of July is right around the corner. WMAs, people think they can just go out and light fireworks in these wide open areas. Yep. Explain that.
They cannot light fireworks in the wide open areas. So fireworks are prohibited on WMAs year round. There's a couple of reasons. One of them is obviously the threat of starting a wildfire, but another one is just the noises and the disturbance to the wildlife. It's an important time for wildlife, whether it's baby pheasants or baby deer trying to survive. So.
Okay, we're along a lot of our WMAs border the rivers, Missouri River especially. A lot of uses there as well.
Yep, so a number of our WMAs have boat ramps and shore fishing access areas, as well as gun ranges also, but still our primary focus is wildlife management, so we try to make sure these other activities don't interfere with that.
And people that are bow hunting on WMAs, there's some rules and regulations there as well.
Correct, yep. So hunters can set their equipment up on WMAs starting August 20th, and they have to be labeled with their name, address, or phone number, or you can get an equipment ID from our website, just like buying a license, and that ID will stay with you and it's specific to you. Those have to be labeled, and then they can be up August 20th to January 31st.
And there's some trapping regulations as well?
Correct, yep, and traps have to be identified also with either the name, city, and phone number, or that ID.
Levi, these WMAs are scattered statewide. Where can people find information on WMAs?
They can go to our website, and it has a list of all the WMAs, where they're at and the size of them, as well as rules and regulations that need to be followed.
In the fall, a lot of activities on these wildlife management areas across the state.
Yep, they're all open to public hunting, and a lot of them have multiple game species on them that a person could target.
And of course, like we just mentioned, a lot of people are using the shorelines for fishing.
Correct. Yep, we got the shore access fishing areas as well as boat ramps on them also.
A lot of great information. Thank you, Levi.